Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
So as I'm thinking about what I wanted to speak to you about this morning, there's almost lots of ideas, lots of things that are coming up in my day and my life or that I think are really relevant for you, which is why I do this podcast, really, is to share something that's happened with my life or some kind of a lesson or experience or what I'm really hearing and sharing that with you, and giving you that more tips, something you can do kind of with that. And my hopes and my intentions are that you get some sort of value from this. And from the number of you that are listening and have over the years, we were at about, I think, 3.2 million downloads at this point. Anywhere from 1,500 to 4,000 listens a day. I would say that's a yes. And I love hearing from you, for those of you that have reached out or want to reach out, like anytime. And I adore and I appreciate and I love you so much for listening. And for those of you that share the episodes as well. But this is what was really coming through to me today. Champion your sister. Okay. What do I mean by that? There's this tricky thing that sometimes happens for us as women, not because we're bad but there's been this programming that says we need to compare ourselves to other women. That, and when we do so, which by the way is the whisperings of ego and fear, and a lot of society stuff like comparisons, beauty pageants, like that kind of bullshit of just whether it's our physical appearance, how we mother, how we show up as a wife or partner, girlfriend, how we are as a daughter. There's a lot of fucking judgments and shaming that goes on. And that could be something as little as you see a beautiful woman and you're just like, fuck. Okay, listen, and I've had this experience too. I still need to just kind of be like, what is real here right now? Let me accept my own beauty, my own worth, and not live in a place in scarcity that says, well, if she's beautiful, then that means I'm lesser than. Bullshit. Do not believe that lie. If she's showing up as a good mom or I'm seeing something really cool, it doesn't mean it shines a light on how I suck as a mom. Do you get that? When we do that thing of comparison, jealousy, anger, envy, like any of that kind of stuff, like, oh yeah, easier for you to say, you don't have like that kind of stuff, right? Then we live in scarcity. And scarcity basically says this. It's not just scarcity, by the way, in abundance. I know people talk about it when it comes to dollars, like financially, right? But it's not just that. You can have a scarcity mindset, really, is what creates the scarcity financially as well, too. You can have scarcity when it comes to, the way that you run your business or that you work. You have scarcity when it comes to love. Like, there's always certain ways that scarcity can show up. And scarcity essentially says this. There's only so much. There's like a pie, and there's only so much of it. And so if she gets a piece, that means I have less. Okay, so if she's beautiful, then that means there's less for me to kind of show up with my beauty or even to be beautiful. If that person has money, then it's taken away from my ability to actually earn or to create money or do the thing I love. If that person has done that idea in business or written something about it or done a podcast about it or shared something about it, that means that I can't do it because they've taken it. Okay? And I'm going to have you realize that way of thinking is, it's toxic. It's damaging to the other person if they are to kind of that's thrown onto them. But I'll tell you, the biggest person it damages and the most toxic, isness of that is coming back towards you, sister. So much love. It's you. It's you're getting the venom, right? When we do that. The other person, yes, if you were to tell them or you kind of, you show up and there's that vibe. And listen, we've all had the experience too of being on the receiving end of that, right? Doesn't that suck? It sucks. I've had the experience of having difficult times with the kids and maybe being stern with them or not having my best mothering day and having eyes on me. And I can if I don't see it in the eyes, I can feel it. right? I often, if I'm going through that, right, what do we often feel? We feel guilt, we feel shame about that, like, oh, I fucking suck. Then we go to that thing. And so often I've just kind of gotten to a point where I don't even want to look up and see eyes. I just kind of like, I don't even look at other people, but there's certainly times that I can feel it, right? You understand that experience. Or maybe a time when you just, physically, you're just like, ugh, whatever, just feeling like shit. Not really feeling like putting yourself together. Like, you're allowed to have a day where you go, I fucking feel like shit, okay? And then maybe being around the presence of others, and maybe you're somebody who usually has kind of herself, we'll just say for the sake of ease, okay, together. I'm not saying that physical appearance is being all together. It's not, right? But let's just, for the sake of this, I have to be very careful, because sometimes there are words, and I won't know what that is, but there are words that might kind of trigger stuff. And so my purpose, by the way, is not to trigger you more. I mean, it may, and it might be triggering you in a way that's just something that you need to see, right? You need to hear, you need to experience. But yeah, so let's say if, for the most part, you are, again, quote unquote, together, physically, have yourself kind of put together and groomed and all that, all that good stuff, if you will. And then you have a day that you're not. And maybe it's those days or day that you kind of feel like, oh my God, eyes are on me. Like, what the fuck's happening to her today, right? Because you're allowed to be a mess sometimes. Give yourself goddamn permission, right? But again, judgment that we sometimes feel from other women, from our fellow sisters. And like, we used to live in a world, and we can still create this, by the way, but we used to live in a world where all the mothers would help mother the kids in the neighborhood, right? They would help out with the children. They would help out when you were sick or the kids were sick. You would most likely live near family, right? And so you would have like grandmothers around and grandparents and sisters and brothers to help out with the raising of the kids, right? The whole notion of it takes a village to raise a family, yet a lot of us, we don't have the village. I don't have a village where I am. I just don't. And this is not, I don't say that as a point of like victim or, oh, it's not fair. The world used to be better this way. It just is. I could choose to live closer to family, but there's not a lot of closeness there. And there's not really, my father just passed away 2.5 weeks ago, and my mother has significant dementia. The other side of the family, my husband's mom passed away 3 years ago. His dad is still alive, but both their parents, their living parents, are in their 80s. He has significant dementia. My mom has pretty severe dementia. Like, there is no grandmothers to help out. There's none of that. I don't have sisters. My brothers aren't, one has kids, one does not. And, the one that has kids, they're all grown up. They're in their 20s. One's getting close to 30. Like, you hear me? It's just like, there isn't that piece of the family. And so it is, right? That's just what it is. And so when we have that, and then we have the echelon of social media, which, by the way, can be a beautiful thing. I'm not going to throw social media on the bus, but we have to be aware of the dark side of social media, which is this light that sometimes shines only the highlight reel of stuff. And again, no judgment if you put that on. Like, none. It just is, right? Of course we want to show our best side. That's okay. But it's when we forget that we're all kind of showing often just our best sides, but yet we think that that's somebody's whole life. And then, here comes the comparison, here comes the shame, here comes the guilt about not being enough. Like, all of that, right, just comes cascading down. And so what can we do? Oh, great, Karen, the world sucks. Thank you for shining the light. Oh, great. We do show up sometimes as women in that stereotypical catty way, and I like, why, and da. No, let's go to solution. Okay, let's go to solution. Number one is knowing that we can always choose different. We can always choose different, right? And so maybe you were somebody who was, a little gossipy at times or judgmental, and you could just begin to really check yourself, because what happens is when we do those behaviors, right, the shaming, the guilt, even if we're thinking it kind of thing, like, oh, fuck her, like that kind of thing. Who does she think she is? Like that, right? We've all done that before at different times in our life. So let's just, number one, be honest about it. It's there. Number two, just know that we can choose different. Okay, and understanding that if we go to that place, often underneath that is hurt. Underneath that is some of the subconscious program that's just been beat into us from the ages of 0 to 7. It's up to us to wake up and to begin to own and heal through that. This is some of the deep work that I do with the women that I one-on-one coach. Transformational deep work. Why do I keep doing these things? How come I keep showing up this way? I'm really trying. Yeah, you're stuck in this program, and so until we have some awareness of that, until we have the tools knowing how to get out of that, you're just going to keep repeating it, right? You're just playing the roles, playing the parts that you've been shown over the years. So we be honest that it's there, some of the stuff of us between other women, that we know that we can choose different. And here's the third piece. It's kind of like gratitude, right? When we celebrate another sister, when we champion another sister, when we like see another woman that's doing well and we go, good for you, and like we mean it. None of this, oh yeah, good for you, and eye rolling. No. No passive aggressive. Leave all that stuff alone. That just creates just poison inside of you. Just don't do that. Stop. I love you, but stop that. You know what the craziest piece is? Some of the women that you or I or we have felt envious or, jealous of, or do you understand that a lot of them are thinking the same way of you? Does that blow your mind? Because it's truth. You know it's truth because you've had maybe experiences where some will tell you that and you're like, what? You were envious of me? What the heck? Right? Like, it's funny, right? All these stories in our head, none of it is based in truth. It's all based on thoughts, which we've never even inquired to go, I wonder if this is actually even true. Haven't Byron Katie'd it and been like, let me really take a look at this thought that's causing all this shifts in my body, and then it's causing all these different emotions to surface, and all based on a thought. Oh, look at her, right? So we can choose different. So, as I was saying, gratitude, when we appreciate, and we really appreciate it, right? We don't get just oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, grateful for my family, grateful for my health. No, we mean it. What am I grateful for today? Let me just take a few moments, a few minutes, and really think about this. Big or small, if you will, right? When we champion another sister, when we celebrate another sister, when we love on another sister, without doing it for this reason, we actually get that back. It's called the law of reciprocity. It is a universal law and principle. What we give, we get back. And again, we can't do it from that purpose, right? It's not like, well, I gave you a gift, so where's my gift? No. It's not like that. When it comes from that purest place of love and compassion and empathy and I see you, I hear you, you get that back. There's some kind of biblical saying, something like, do unto others as you want to have done to yourself or something. I'm sure I'm messing. For those of you that know Bible or spiritual verses, my apologies. I think I totally screwed that one up, but you get that, right? It's like, how about we begin to celebrate? I had someone kind of mention someone that's got a podcast recently and they're like, oh, she's gotten this. And I was like, good for her. And I felt it. I was like, man, I know podcasting. I've been podcasting this podcast for 4 years. My first podcast, Moment 41, went for 13 months. I've been podcasting for over 5 years. It's not easy shit. It is hard to keep this consistent. This is episode, I think, 696 today. Almost 700 times that I have done these episodes. I'm proud of myself. And by the way, champion yourself first. Really that. A lot of the feelings of not being able to love on somebody else is because you're not loving yourself. So love up on your sister today. Celebrate her. And that can be something simple of, it could be something saying, man, you look so beautiful today. Or you could reach out and let her know what you're grateful for. Right? It could be that you just, you see another mom, you're at the grocery store and she's struggling. And you just go, good job, mom. Or, I was at a doctor's office the other day and there was a dad. He's probably just maybe in his early 30s, 2 little kids. They're probably 2 and 3, at the ages where they're just a freaking handful. Daddy had a broken leg and, he's holding one who's sleeping and one's getting kind of anxious and stuff. And there was just kind of, a situation where then he was super calm. He was awesome with his children, with his daughter and his son. And then he's going to leave. You can just tell he just had enough and he's struggling to just walk. And he's got the 2 kids and one goes running out in traffic. And then the other one, his little leg gets stuck in the door. And so I jump over and help. And it was just it was that parenting solidarity moment, right? And it can be something like that where you just help. I just kind of had a little my arms around this little girl, but not that I'm touching her, but just so she wouldn't run off. I made a little circle of my arms around her little 2-year-old, cute as can be, little blonde curls, little body, And she's crying, my daddy, because he's comforting his son who's fucking, like just the chaos that happens that, if you're a mom, your parent, right? So it could be something as simple as that, it could be something even simpler of like, you just see another mom again, like her kids are freaking out and you're just like, I see you. Like you could literally say, I've done that to like strangers in the grocery store, like, oh man, I get it. Like they're just looking exhausted, and it's just like, I get it. I've got 2 boys. You're doing a great job, right? It could be a smile. It could be that you just like thinking that thought, maybe that mom is having such a hard time that she's just angry and upset. And sometimes if we're at this vibration that's so much higher, like it irritates somebody, that feeling of if you're just like mad and somebody comes in, they're like, hey, and you're just, oh, I'm going to punch you now, right? Because our vibrations are so off. We're not even close to where each other is. And so sometimes your light is too bright for that person. It's like blinding for them, right? So it could just be that you just send that love and that compassion their way, that you just, say a little prayer inside your head, like, sending you so much love and compassion. I see you, I hear you. Do not discount the power of energetically sending people your love, your compassion, your celebration, your empathy, your heart. It's real. It's real. This is why they found in science that prayer works, right? Again and again and again. So here's your more tip for today then. I want you to, one woman today, and you could do this 2 ways, okay? There's no, doesn't have to be all rigid and everything about it, but you could either just go, oh, there's this woman. Yeah, I've been really meaning to tell her, you know what? Again, it could be something about her physical appearance. It could be the way that she shows up. Man, it's just, I've seen you in situations in work and when it's really hairy and you know what? You always seem to just have this state of calm. I just so appreciate that and you. Thank you so much, right? It could be a friend that's really been supporting you. That you just, it could be words. It could be you send her flowers today. You buy her a special book. It could be somebody that you reach out that who's really struggling, that you just go, listen, I see you and I'm here for you. If you ever want to talk, I'm a great listener. You celebrate, you connect, you reach out, you let another woman in her life know that she is seen and heard and acknowledged and loved. So you can either, number one, intentionally go, yeah, there might be someone right away that you think of, okay, that you're going to do this with. Or number 2, that you just wait for the opportunity to surface. And maybe you just put it on your phone or something to remind you, and just maybe, I don't know, just listen to this podcast again, but just to have that in your intention of I'm going to, be shown a woman today that I need to celebrate and love on. And who's that going to be? And maybe it will be the random woman in the grocery store, right? I mean, listen, I've walked in an elevator with somebody, a woman's wearing something that's just beautiful, or her makeup is stunning, or just, and listen, the old me, the 20, 30, early 30s me would be kind of oh, she's so beautiful. I always felt so kind of, lesser than around really gorgeous women. And, now it's quite different. I still have my moments and my days, but, it's owning your own, it's loving yourself and owning your own beauty, because we're all beautiful in the way that we are. We all are. The fact that you're here with breath in your body, with the energy that you have inside of you, that is beautiful in itself. Do you know that? I want you to know that. But when we do love up on another woman, we will receive that back. So let's use the law of reciprocity for this. Not with the intention of okay, I did the good thing. Okay, universe, come on, my turn, bring it to me. Nope, can't be done from that place, but just know it does come back to you. It has this boomerang effect. So love up on another woman, a sister that you know today, intentionally, or wait for the moment to present itself. And really put it out there. You could really even just say you know what? God, universe, source, angels, guides, whatever. Show me a woman today that needs to be honored and seen. Show her to me today so I can be used today in service, and to let her know that she's seen and she's heard, and I celebrate and I honor her. Can you imagine if so there's, it's upwards of 4,000. I think the other day we had 4,500 listens on the podcast. I've had some 10,000 listen days. Can you imagine if every single person listening to this podcast does that? Do you know how monumental that is? 1,500, 4,000 women which is about the listens, by the way, that happen like daily, right? So let's say that the women that listen to this podcast today, let's just even say it's just like 1,000 of you or 500 of you, which it's more every single day. But let's just say there's 500 women today somewhere in the world are celebrated by another woman. These are the actions that when we think like, oh my God, climate change, and oh my God, the politics of the world, and oh my God, the atrocities that are happening and people getting shot and school stuff and drugs and blah. We can make a fucking difference. Do you understand this? And it's by our humanness. It's by our love. And by God, we as women, we need to be bonding together. Together. Not against men or the patriarchy, all that. No, just togetherness. There's power in that. And it starts with a simple, like, reaching out to another sister today. And you watch, because the coolest thing I've experienced with that is that when you do that to one woman and you fill her up and you make her feel special and seen and heard, well, guess what? Now that's almost like you're helping to turn on her light. And that often means that that's going to now begin to ripple. Okay? And so she might then do that to another person. Does that another person? Does another person? You know, like, you ever paid for someone, been like at a Starbucks drive-thru or something? I know I've talked to some baristas and they go, yeah, the longest we've had is like, there's been like 12 people in a row that buy the drinks for the person behind them in the drive-thru window. Right? Love creates more love. Compassion creates more compassion. Showing another woman that she feels seen and heard creates more women feeling seen and heard and wanting to share that too. So there you go, sister. Finishing up today, I want you to be aware that there are currently, I think it's 24 journals that are left. I, 2 years ago, decided to send out free journals. You take care of a little bit of shipping. All the rest is on me. And I put some other kind of cool, wouldn't want to more swag in that, which I've sent with love to over 600 women in about 20 different countries around the world over the last 2 years. And this is it. The final, this is like version 3 or 4 that I've put out. So if you would like to get your free Women Wanting More limited edition journal, again, 24 left. I'm not joking with that. I've counted them. 24. Here's what you need to do. Head over to drkarenosborn.com/free journal. So drkarenosborn.com/free journal. And you can get your set up. And I will ship that off to you in a couple weeks. With love. With love. So I will talk to the next episode. A life of more really is one step away from you celebrating another sister, loving on your sisters every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.